Hey Reject Nation, Greg Alba here. This weekend sees Incredibles 2 and Tag coming out, but I'm going to talk about a little indie film called American Animals. I actually saw this a week and a half ago because of E3 going on. Didn't really have time to cover this movie. I want to talk about it with you guys right now because I think it's a film more people should be watching. It's expanding in more theaters. This is not some paid promo vid. I just think you guys should go watch this movie. So I saw the trailer for this film. I thought stylistically it looked really cool, but I was a little confused on what was going on in the movies. What? I'm so confused. So I got here the Wikipedia and the IMDb plot description to make it easier for you guys to follow. It's based on the true story about four dudes who live out in Lexington, Kentucky. This takes place in 2004. It's about them trying to pull off a heist, stealing a priceless Audubon prints and rare books from a special collections library that happened at the Transylvania University. I want to keep this review short because I just want more people to go check this movie out. So this is based on a true story. It's a wildly entertaining film. It's a crazy story with characters who are reckless, hence American Animals. There's something relatable about them because the biggest inspiration for what makes them think they can pull off this heist is their inspiration from watching heist movies. It's a big part that comes into play with this film. When they're literally trying to figure out how to pull off this heist, they start studying heist movies. When that started happening, I really connected with the film. Not because I've tried pulling off a heist. I connected with it because I think there's so many of us who will often watch badass characters in movies or even criminals, watch like an Ocean's 11 type of film or The Sting or any type of outlaw character and go, they're badass, they did it, I want to be like them. I thought it was fascinating to watch a story about young dudes who watched too many movies and thought they could be these guys. This director primarily has a documentary background, so about 20 to 30% of this movie is actually cutting back and forth between interviews with the real four dudes who pulled off this heist. Part of the unique narrative with this storytelling is there's often conflicting point of views, often over minute details, like very little things, like what color shirt was this guy wearing that they met with. But I thought it was a fascinating narrative because so many times you see movies that are based on a true story and you end up questioning, did this actually happen? Did this actually happen? Did this actually happen? I thought it was fascinating for the movie itself to have conflicting interviews present both interviews, for the movie itself to be questioning, did this actually happen? Did this part actually happen? I think in the first act it gets a little too hyper stylized with showing what they're trying to do with the narrative, with the conflicting perspectives from interviewing the four people who have different versions of certain events. Oh, let's have Evan Peters break away from the scene for a second and start talking to the actual dude who he's portraying. There's stuff like that where I thought it was a little too much, a little too flashy. At first I thought I probably wouldn't be able to fully get invested into this film because I thought its style was a little too in my face. But after a while the style blends very seamlessly that when it's cutting back and forth between the interviews and then the reenactment, you're just invested in both that's going on. I think the direction of this film is really cool, especially in the tone that the director struck with the film. Because it's not one of those movies like an Ocean's 11 where it's just a giant build up to a heist and then after the heist is done the movie ends. The movie kind of has two halves. Everything before the heist, then the heist and everything after that. Because everything leading up to the heist is really seeing it from the perspective of these dudes who really believe they can pull this heist off. These are just young men who are doing this. So in the style that the director was choosing to capture the reenactment, it's captured in a way as if you're watching a really bitchin' heist movie and you think these guys are gonna pull off some crazy cool heist. And then the last half is when it gets real. It gets super realistic. Like when they get to the actual heist, it's not some cool badass thing. It's scary, it's nerve-wracking, you feel like pacing the room because of how like, oh my god. I thought it was so cool to see a movie that is essentially telling you life isn't a movie. Just because you saw some cool stuff go down in a film doesn't mean you can pull it off in real life. And it's also more than just fulfilling fantasy scene from a movie. These guys really just hate the idea of conforming to what society wants them to be like. So the first half, cool, badass plotting of a heist movie. And then the last half hits you with a large dose of somber realism, but it works perfectly. And the cast of the four dudes are great. The four dudes who pull off this heist, they're all great actors. They do a fantastic job and have unique personalities here, but the main actor to talk about is the lead of this movie and the guy who leads this whole heist, Evan Peters as Warren Lipka, who's the main guy who brought his buddies together. I've seen most of American Horror Story, and I've said for a long time that I think Evan Peters is going to be the next Johnny Depp. Not Johnny Depp today, like, oh my god, I'm worried about Johnny Depp. Young Johnny Depp. There's something about the not giving a shit personality that he has and the delivery and his ability to embody a wide variety of roles that really reminds me of a young Johnny Depp. His performance here showcases that this dude can lead the hell out of a movie. He's an eccentric character, a dude who, when he's convinced, he's good at convincing other people of what he's convinced himself of. Even though this is a crazy idea, this dude is a guy who does not seem like he's headed down a good path. You can see why he was able to gather people smarter than himself and get them believing that they all could pull off this crazy heist. These four young men who don't want to conform to the norms of society, who want to live in this fantasy world and have the easy way out, they come to learn that life isn't a movie. I really think you guys should go watch this film. It's a fascinating true story with a unique narrative, an awesome soundtrack, by the way, with some great performances in it, and it has the veil of a cool heist movie, but it's a film that's much deeper than that. It's a film that's about choices, it's a film about consequences, and about how fulfilling certain fantasies does not equate to having a good reality. I was seriously wildly impressed with the film. It's very stylish, it's very well acted, very well directed. For a film with this kind of pacing and great dark comedy, I was surprised by how much deeper it actually is. If I were to grade this on a scale out of 10, I would give it like an 8.5 or a 9 out of 10. It is seriously one of my favorite movies of the year. It's a film that I saw a week and a half ago and I've thought about it every day since. It's a damn good movie. Evan Peters kills it, and I hope that when award season comes around, he is considered for Best Leading Actor. All right, guys, why don't you comment below and tell me what is your favorite heist movie? You guys can subscribe to the Reject Nation, click that notification bell, and you can check us out on Patreon, full-length TV show reactions, weekly Q&As. Would love to have you become a Patroniject today.